Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Casual Leader Podcast, your weekly dose of real talk for people building real businesses and trying not to lose their sanity along the way. I'm your host, and today I want to start the year with something you might need to hear more than another goal setting framework or productivity hack. And don't get me wrong, I love a really good goal setting framework. And I actually built one for myself years ago because none of the smartest ones worked for me or for my team or for my friends. But that's a story for another time. And today I actually want to start by saying that you're not too late. Not too late to start the business you wanted, not too late to become the leader you wish you had, not too late to change directions or try again or finally take yourself to on the right path. Not too late to be the change that you want to see in the world. And I know that sounds cheesy and I know that it feels a little bit weird, but I know that sometimes it can feel late. And I'm actually seeing it more and more and more everywhere. And I'm saying from the groups with entrepreneurs that I'm part of, or the groups with leaders or managers. I'm actually seeing it on YouTube in the comment section. I am seeing it even in Reddit in threads. I'm seeing it in the Y Combinator group. I am seeing it everywhere. People just think that they're late to the game because everywhere you look, someone younger, louder, or somehow luckier seem to have made it already. Somehow people post a couple of pieces of content and boom, they just have hundreds of people on their waiting list ready, nay, begging for the company to take their money in exchange for, you guessed it, another SaaS, another course, another insert name here. It feels late because timelines online are compressed into those little highlight reels, less than a minute, because success stories are now told actually backwards, really polished, stripped of the chaos and the real behind the scenes. So today, we are actually going to talk about the reality behind the noise and why starting now matters more than ever. So let's get into it. So, if you don't know this by now, it seems that we have a smoke and mirrors problem. So, let's call this out. Most success stories that you see online are heavily edited and incredibly embellished. You see the exit announcement, the funding round, the revenue screenshot of a very specific month or a campaign, I might add, the overnight success narrative. What you don't see are the years of confusion, the struggle, the failed ideas, the identity crisis, the quiet restarts, the burnout, the pivots that actually didn't make the LinkedIn post, and the fictitious numbers. A lot of founders and companies that look like instant wins have failed multiple times before the vision that you recognize today, rebranded, rebuilt, and quietly struggled long before the spotlight that you see today. And some of them are embodying the fake it until you make it a little bit too literal. Which brings me to the part that matters the most. A lot of success stories we are shown today aren't simplified. Some of them are just manufactured.
She's fictitious, no?
Not an optimistic storytelling, not good marketing, an actual distortion of reality. And when you compare yourself to those stories, you're not behind. You're just comparing yourself to pure fiction. Let me give you a few of real examples here, which I'm sure you heard of by now, but just, let's reiterate. Take WeWork. The narrative was tech company, visionary leadership, growth at any cost. For a moment there, they were literally on top of the world. Everyone wanted to join the company. Everyone wanted to be part of the WeWork vision, mission, and, leadership. The reality, inflated evaluations, weak fundamentals, governance chaos, business model that just did not match the hype. They were running at a loss and running into the ground fast. But here's the key that people miss. People weren't late to WeWork. They were actually protected by not being early employees. Being early didn't make people winners or the best in the industry. It just meant that they felt the impact sooner when things started to fall apart. Let's take another example, FTX. The public perspective and image was responsible crypto, smart, thoughtful founder doing things differently. The reality, customer funds misused, no real control, a house of cards built on trust and hype. And again, it looked fast and smart and impressive and revolutionary until it wasn't. Now let's bring this a little bit closer to home. Let's look at Builder.ai. For years, the story was AI powered app development. Anyone can build software without engineers. An amazing concept, isn't it? Big enterprise clients, massive funding, positioned as the future of no code and AI. But later reporting showed that most of the work was manual. Automation claims were really overstated, and the story was far ahead of the actual technology. More of a bona fide software company rather than a real AI company. So, was it a real company, an actual company? Yes, of course it was. Did it deliver value in some cases? Yes. But the comparison story, the one that people felt late to, was exaggerated. And that's the danger. People weren't late to the AI low code, no code wave. They were just late to the illusion. And sometimes that's a blessing. Now, let's talk about a different kind of example, the one that looked respectable, regulated, and safe. Wirecard. This isn't hype culture. This wasn't crypto chaos. This wasn't Silicon Valley theater. Wirecard was a publicly listed company that was audited and regulated, part of Germany's DAX index, and it was presented as Europe's answer to Silicon Valley fintech. And yet, 1.9 billion euros in cash didn't exist. You know, it's a fugazi, it's so easy, it's so easy. And financial statements were falsified, whistleblowers were actually ignored or attacked, and regulators just failed to act. When Wirecard collapsed, it became one of the largest financial frauds in European history. And again, people felt, late to the game. They felt like they were behind, but they were actually spared. I'm sure you can see the pattern here. Hype moves faster than the truth. Marketing outruns substance, and being early doesn't mean being right or that things are great. Sometimes being late just means you waited for the reality, for the real thing. You didn't build your company on a lie, you didn't tie your future to a scam. So you're sitting there thinking, where should I have started earlier? Where should I have started? Maybe everyone else is ahead. Did I miss the wave? Maybe you didn't miss anything. Maybe you're just in time to start. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there aren't legit products and companies. And I know what you'll say. Everyone bends the truth a little bit. But keep in mind that there is a difference between reality and fiction. And some of these companies, they're pure fiction. So next time when you see yet another post on someone hitting their 200K MRR on their side hustle, take it with a pinch of salt. Social media did not invent success. It just made comparison louder and context invisible. It made easier for the illusion. No one really checks the numbers. No one asks for statements, invoices, a financial end of the year audit. They just believe the hype or the post. And look, it's human nature. It's 100% human nature for us to try, to want to become like X and Y and have examples and role models and want to maybe compete a little bit. A healthy competition is always good and welcome. But there's one thing to, post something that's a little bit embellished. And there's a whole other thing where you have fully fiction numbers. Everything that you can see out there and you state that your company does, it might as well be, a Harry Potter novel at this point. And when you see only what's like carefully curated or the finish line, it's easy to believe you missed the race entirely or you're way too late to the game. And I'm here to tell you, you didn't. You absolutely did not. Let's talk about the 1% myth. Yes, sometimes a 90-year-old builds something in a dorm room and sells it for like a bajillion million dollars. That happens. It's also very rare because there's a lot of luck involved and statistically irrelevant and not a useful benchmark for your life. It's just like the 1% or less. You know, there are those like anomalies that you might find everywhere, really. The other 99% of meaningful businesses, careers, and leadership journeys are actually built slowly, in years, imperfectly, with detours and loads of mistakes. With sleepless nights, by people who didn't feel ready either. Most great leaders did not peak early under any circumstances. They accumulated skills and experience. They have been burned more times than they can count. And along the way, they actually learned. They learned how to hire. They learned, more importantly, who to hire and who to fire. They learn how processes actually work, how people behave under pressure, what they don't tolerate anymore, when they're willing to take risks and when they don't. That experience isn't a disadvantage just because they took a little bit more time, and most certainly it doesn't mean that they're late. There's a reason why people don't really start. And here's something that I've noticed over and over again. Some of the best potential founders and leaders that I know are thoughtful, have strong values, have a clear vision in mind, care deeply about what they do and their people, and get incredibly annoyed and frustrated when time is wasted on BS rather than a clear outcome that leads to progress. And yet they stay stuck. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack skills, but because they're tired. They're absolutely sick and tired of corporate politics, of being the messenger of decisions they didn't make, of cleaning up the messes without having a real say, of carrying responsibility without the authority, and of really they're tired of all the noise and the bullshit that takes away from focusing on what really matters: your product, your customers, and the team that you build with. They don't want to play games anymore, but they also don't really see any other path or option. So they wait in the hopes that things will get better. And as the years go by, they usually really give up entirely. Look, I get it. I completely get it. That's the whole point why we started the casual leader in the first place. It was born out of pure frustration. We noticed the amount of bullshit that is growing just within the space, and not just for leadership and business, but in general, the amount is just piling up, guys. And we just wanted a space for authentic humans with real problems and solutions, not another sleazy pitch, not another get rich scheme, not another, oh my God, look at me, I'm perfect. And all of a sudden, I'm a massive success overnight. Just the reality. And this is why we need founders and leaders that actually give a fuck more than ever. We need leaders that have opinions and care about what they're building, for who and how. We need CEOs that empower people to do their best works. The ones when you work with them, time just disappears, just doesn't exist anymore because the spark and the brain juice is flowing. It's like magic. And everyone is just in it to do their best. You know, the ones that actually reward people for their contributions and care about the human behind the product and revenue. Because, newsflash, guys, that product is not building itself and that revenue doesn't just happen overnight. And I know that these days it can seem like a myth or a legend to work for such CEOs, but that's because the ones that would grow into those leaders are not willing to compete with what's out there. Smoke, the mirrors that are taking over your social media feed, all the fabricated pieces of news. It's absolutely incredible. I can honestly say that I actually got to a point where I don't want to open X anymore. You know what I mean? And it's been a little while now. Every single time I spend more than 5 minutes, I see the exact same post, copy and paste, with the name of the product, company, or person changed, but that's it. And it feels like we're just in a copy paste content era. And look, I'm not saying don't use templates to get inspired or Don't use some of like the small trends that are like 5 things I've learned this year, because that's fine, because you're talking about what's unique to you. But when you have the same posts again and again about how X made your day because accidentally you bumped into them at the coffee shop and it just happens that they needed exactly what you're selling, word by word, that's just plain stupid. Uh, don't believe everything you see, and I'm sure you already know about this until now. But I just wanted to say, even really big successful founders that you see out there, just don't believe everything you see. That's all I'm gonna. This is where I'm gonna leave it. Now, before this turns into a gloom and doom episode, I know things can turn dark quickly. Let me be very clear about something. The point of all these examples is not to scare you off. It's not to say everything is fake, so why bother? It's the actual complete opposite. Once you see through the smoke and mirrors, once you stop living in the highlight reels and the inflated timelines, I hope you realize you're not too late. You are finally seeing clearly. At least that's what happened for me. Once I pulled back that curtain and I realized that things are not as they always look like, something changed. And from that clarity, it's actually a really good place to start. Because when you stop chasing hype, you can actually start building something real. And here's the part that people don't talk about enough. Right now, it has never, ever been easier to just start. Right now, you can start a social media account and talk authentically about your idea today. We could use a few of those, you know what I mean? You can build a website this weekend. You can incorporate a business for like a few $100s. You can test interest easier than ever before, and before you actually go all in. You can build the leadership skills for your future self, which he or she or they will thank you. You don't need to wait for the perfect time. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow. You just need to start where you are. And yes, it will be messy and weird and confused sometimes. And you will make some mistakes and things will be slow. Trust me, way slower than you ever thought. But here's the thing, everything you've done in your life started with a first awkward, clumsy step. If you want to cook, you need to start cracking a few eggs, probably really badly, probably on a rock, maybe on a pan, whatever you have. Before you learn how to run, you had to crawl first. Even as a baby, you didn't wake up one day and just like sprint away. Everything starts with a start. And it doesn't have to be a big announcement or a whole production. You can just start small. Start with creating an email address, a name, a logo, a website. Start the smallest thing that you can ever think about and go from there. Now, I know this next part is going to sound a little bit cheesy, but please stay with me. I'm a firm believer in the quote, be the change you want to see in the world. And I know it sounds cliche until you kind of start to take it seriously. It doesn't mean building a unicorn, becoming famous, becoming a millionaire, bajillionaire, or having all the answers. It just means leading the way you wish leaders would. Being the manager or the person that, or the mentor that you never had and you wish you had. Building the thing you wish existed. Creating space for honesty, clarity, humanity, where there currently isn't any. If you want better leadership, just come on. If you want a better business, build one. If you want less bullshit, stop participating in it. You don't need to scale to make an impact. You don't need to have the biggest influence in the world to make an impact. You need a start, an intention, and some consistency, because that's going to take you a long way. So instead of asking, is it too late for me? Try asking, what am I no longer willing to tolerate? What kind of work feels worth of my energy? What's one small step I can take this month? You don't need to have a full map. You just need to stop standing still. Small actions compound more than you realize. So let me say it clearly before we wrap up. You're not behind, you're not too old, you're not too late. You're just in a copy paste era filled with smoke and mirrors. That's it. And honestly, that's okay. That means that there's a huge need for businesses that are authentic and for leaders that will be the change they wish they saw in the world. People just like you. The challenge this week: write down one thing you've been postponing because you felt late. Take one concrete step towards it, publicly or privately, your pick. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop complaining and finding excuses. This is a big one because perfect timing doesn't exist, it's actually created. All right, that's a wrap. If you love or hated this episode, please let us know in the comments below. We're here for both. Let's get the conversation started. And if you feel that it's too late for you, I hope we convinced you otherwise, or at least, we gave you some food for thought. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow and hit that notification bell so you never miss out any of the upcoming episodes. We have tons of interesting subjects coming up. Plus, join our community on the website, thecasualleader.com, to keep the leadership vibes going and connect with fellow leaderships just like you. For any resources, toolkits, or guides, feel free to check out our website again, thecasualleader.com. And until next time, keep being you authentically, lead clearly, build smarter, and remember, everything starts with you. Start casual, keep going, keep growing. Happy New Year!